Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, Mike Norvell, Florida State. For lack of better terms, shocking the college football world. There was really nobody that was giving Florida State a chance in this one. I don't think enough people realize how different this football team is in 2025 than what it was in 2024. And Dill, to me, I think it starts with the coordinators. Everybody talked about Florida State using the portal. Ain't nobody talking about the coordinator changes that Mike Norvell made. Gus Malzahn in his bag on offense. Dill, Tony Wood on defense, I think pitched about as perfect of a game as you could pitch in that one. This team feels so different in 2025. And shout out to the Florida State fans who showed up in absolutely rowdy environment as well. Want to get into some of my biggest takeaways, talk about what we learned from Florida State, because that's been the storyline all off season long. Ain't really sure what to expect, but we kind of knew it was going to be fun, especially with Tommy Castellanos at quarterback. Well, gosh darn it, it was fun for the last couple of hours. Before we get into it, we have to give a shout out to the Florida State fans. Many of the Florida State fans been rocking with the boys for a very long time, through the highs of 2023, through the lows of 2024. We appreciate you guys. It is much more fun talking about this team when they're winning football games. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And Florida State fans, vibe check in the comment section. Would love to hear how you guys are feeling. Dill, I'm gonna give you the tee box here. Florida State getting it done. I personally want to start on the offensive side of the football because it just was so different. Where do you want to start when you're talking about Florida State on the offensive side here?
I mean, it's probably got to be the offensive line because that was my big question. I feel like you've seen Tommy Castellanos play that way. Now, we haven't always seen it every game from him, but we've seen those moments where he's just stepped up in huge games. He certainly did that today. He put his money where his mouth was. But I thought for Florida State to be able to depend on that offensive line in big spots, like that 4th and 1 on their own 30 or whatever it was, to be able to depend on your offensive line to go run those Bama defenders off the ball and get that first down, that's a far cry from what we saw last year. I mean, last year they were such a liability. I was really impressed with how that group came together, executed, again, a pretty complex run scheme that they were throwing out there, and did it at a really high level.
Dill, that was the story, right? I mean, last year this was one of the worst. It was the worst offensive line in the Power Four. You just went out there and won the line of scrimmage against an Alabama team that people are picking to win the national championship because of what they are along the line of scrimmage. We kind of knew this, man. You look at the new starting five for Florida State up front. It's a lot of new faces, but they're all guys that we've seen play, and they're all guys that are really damn good against the run. Like we've been saying, look, I don't know what Micah Pennis is in terms of an NFL draft prospect. How good is he in pass protection? Although I thought he's pretty damn good today. We know he can move bodies off the line of scrimmage. That is exactly what you saw. I think the second thing you have to talk about, when you have a coordinator that knows what he wants the offense to look like and leans into what his quarterback does best, good things happen. And that is exactly what you saw from Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos. And when I looked at it, it's like, all right, do we think Tommy Castellanos is a sit in the pocket, go through progressions kind of quarterback? No. And he's probably not going to be a top 100 NFL draft pick. That does not mean he can't be an electric factory as a quarterback at the collegiate ranks. Gus Malzahn doing a really good job staying on schedule, and you have to give Florida State's offensive line credit there, right? They didn't get behind the chains a lot. They didn't force Tommy Castellanos to be a pocket passer much in this football game. If you can continue to lean into what Tommy does well, this offense can really move the football against anybody, because that's an Alabama defense that I think a lot of people would think will be a top 10 defense in the country.
But it's not just leaning into Tommy. It's leaning into Jalen Lucas, Mekhi Danzy. Like, they were leaning into everybody. Mike Pittman, I thought, like, what he does, like,
Dude,
being able to block the way he blocks and his understanding what Gus Malzahn's trying to do, really impressive. But again, you just talk about the usages of those guys and then being able to hit those big plays off of it. Like that play to Jalen Lucas, that's a huge kind of play, I feel like. Again, like, they didn't throw the ball a ton, but they were able to create some explosives. And you look at last year, I don't think this is going to be a team necessarily that's going to throw the ball a ton and hit a ton of explosive plays through the air, but you got to hit a couple of them, and they were obviously able to do that.
That's kind of how we talked about Gus Malzahn's offense, right? Like you ain't gonna throw the football that much, but when you do throw, we're gonna go for the gosh dang jugular. And look, when they went for the jugular, they ripped that sucker out. Like they hit it. Look, Tommy as a passer, when the throws were there to be made, thought he was pretty dang sharp. And again,
he was composed. He didn't like do anything crazy, like turn the ball over, take bad sacks. Like I thought his composure, it was kind of like Jackson Arnold, honestly, yesterday. If any of the Florida State fans watched him play against Baylor, just like again, not like aesthetically pleasing from a passing attack, but didn't really make any mistakes. I wouldn't say.
And I'll say this, like aesthetically pleasing. I thought the passing attack was clean when they went to it, but that's going to be the recipe for Florida State all year. Like we want to get a lead in these football games. We want to be able to lean on the run for 4 quarters, and you got a deep stable of running backs, man. Look, Usman Chrome is going to be a gosh darn good football player.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thought Roy Williams ran the football well. Thought Gavin Sawchuk ran the football really well. I mean, you got 3 running backs that I think and then Jalen Lucas, obviously, just throw him around that's so exciting because Jalen Luke's one of those players that if he gets an offensive coordinator that knows how to use him, he can be really good. Gus Malzahn certainly knows how to use Jalen Lucas. Can I say one more thing on offense before we switch over? And you kind of glanced over it, but I want to hammer it home. Randy Pittman. He's going to be such an X factor, and it's not going to necessarily be in the box score. He's a guy that, can get open. Is going to catch everything that's thrown his way, but his ability to inline block, his ability to block in space, which is a monster. There's a reason that Gus Malzahn brought him over to Florida State, and it's not like he's going to be a top 32 NFL draft pick. But again, the thing that continues to stand out is they went out and got portal additions that were not the biggest names across the country, but they're players who are good that fit what they want to do. An offensive line that can run block, a tight end that can block in line and on the perimeter, a quarterback that can certainly, get it going with his legs, and then a couple of deep threats at the wide receiver position. We didn't get to see Deuce much. Look, I know Deuce is going to be hitting some plays in that deeper third, and Squirrel White obviously was a presence as well. Florida State wide receivers block on the perimeter too. That's another thing I had in my notes. So I don't mean to, and we'll get more into it throughout the week and kind of break down what we had. Those were my first impressions on the offense without going back and watching it again. Second storyline, though. This is a Florida State defense that at times was put in some bad spots, right? With that muff punt. 328 total yards. I think they only allowed 4 plays that won for 20 plus, and I think they were exclusively to Jeremy Bernard. Like, did a really good job dealing with Ryan Williams, did a really good job of keeping everything in front of them and say, hey, if you want to go score touchdowns on us, you're going to have to execute for 10 to 12 to 14 plays. And Alabama just more times than not couldn't. Where do you want to start when you're talking about Tony White and the Florida State defense here?
In the middle of the field, the linebackers and safeties, just because you look at how bad I felt like they played last year in those units. And again, it wasn't just the portal additions. Like, honestly, the homegrown talent, just how much better I felt like Cryer was playing, or Nicholson, or some of those other guys. They were just playing at a much higher. Obviously, Earl Little had a lights out game, I felt like. So probably the big thing I'm looking at is just straight up development. Like, yes, it's nice to have some portal guys hit, but I look at the way those linebackers are playing, those safeties are playing. That's just good coaching. That's just having the right staff in place to get these guys playing the way they really should. Because linebackers are
nails, man. Run fits, and then I'll just say, like, all of a sudden they look faster too, like flying out to the outside. That probably is more of like maybe they weren't super slow linebackers last year. Maybe they just weren't in the right defense and were a little confused, didn't know what they were doing, because they were just playing faster too, flying around the football field. Earl Little was a freaking menace, man. I mean, he is, you can tell he's a little bit of that heartbeat of this Florida State defense. And we talked all offseason long. Like the buzz around Earl Little was real. It was legit. Him playing that rover position in this Tony White defense. Well, I thought he looked exceptional, especially firing downhill, especially fitting the run, really clean in zone coverage too, which I think is a product of coaching, man. I mean, when Ty Simpson made plays, they were clean throws. Like there weren't a lot of very obvious throwing windows for Ty Simpson, which I think is really, really important. Then on the defensive line, though, the Desir brothers is probably where you need to start. right? Like they're two guys in the freshman class for Florida State in 2025. And I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot here. It wasn't super flashy. They freaking love these kids. And the Desir brothers, man. I mean, whether it's stopping the run, whether it's getting after the passer, the whole defense just swarming to the football in general. But I thought it started with the Desir brothers coming in. We were a little bit concerned about the depth of the defensive line, especially with the injury to Kevin Wynn. I thought the defense, a lot of guys were playing some quality football for Florida State up front there, too.
And that was the big thing. You were rotating a decent amount of guys through, and you didn't see any guys who were playing like really poorly. Like I
No.
thought Daniel Lyons, he felt like he took a step. I thought he had a really nice game.
Yes, he did.
And I did think the effort level was a little bit different than we've seen
Way
in the
different.
past. Like they were really chasing things down, really harassing Ty Simpson. And like again, when he was running around, there were guys right on his heels and playing really fast and playing really hard. And I mean, I think that certainly matters a fair amount.
Can I say one more thing? What about, and we'll close it out on this, and we'll do a deeper dive into what we learned over the week. What about the in-game adjustments? I mean, Alabama went, 12, 14 plays? I think it was like 14 plays. 80 yards and scored a touchdown right off the rip. And I'm sure many Florida State fans were like, oh, here we go again. Snap your fingers, and this defense was just different. Like it, and I think a lot of had to do with like not disciplined in our pass rush lanes early on. Ty Simpson getting outside the pocket, picking up some third downs, and then all of a sudden it's like we fixed the problems mid game, which was something that you didn't see from Florida State in the 2024 year. Again, I think the players are better. The players are playing harder. The players are better fit in what they're trying to do. But I really do think it starts with these coordinators, man. I thought they were so. Let's just be frank about it. I think Florida State fans know this. Alabama has a better roster. I don't think I'm saying anything groundbreaking here. We knew these coordinators had to hit and be in their bag. They were all game long. And I think that was a lot of the difference in this football team. And I'm immediate contenders in the ACC. Is that an overreaction?
No,
I don't
Alabama's a
think so.
national championship level team.
Yeah,
Like
and
I kind of believe that.
I'm not sure if I'm ready to put Florida State as a national championship contender just yet. Like they probably got to show me a little bit more. I'm immediately putting them in a contender for the ACC right now. Going to be fun 2025, man. We'll close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.